Today's guest went from prison to praise. Stay tuned as Greg Crabtree joins us.
I realized that I'm on the fence, and I got to get off the fence, either in or out of Christianity.
Yeah.
It's either going to be this lifestyle or that lifestyle. So I chose Christ.
Welcome back. We are here with Greg Crabtree, Chapter President and National Membership Chairman of Businessmen's Fellowship USA. So glad you are with us today. You are so involved in ministry here in the Bay Area.
Try to be.
And abroad, actually. Tell us what all you're into.
Well, I won't get into all of it, but the most important thing is my daily life is about Jesus. It went from what I used to do to what I do now, and what I do now is I proclaim everywhere I go. I got a really great line from Dr. Huddleston.
Yes.
We all know
Yes.
Dr. Huddleston.
Yes.
And it came out of one of his books, and it said, he was speaking to someone, and he says, well, I work for an international organization that searches for lost people. And I'll say that again slowly. He says, I on the golf course with men to men, they always say, what do you do for a living? And I say, I work for an international organization that searches for lost people. And they think I'm out searching for lost children and are lost this or that. And about fourth or fifth hole, I'll say, do you know Jesus? Are you lost or are you found? So that's, for me, you've got 18 holes to play with these guys, and you always get to be able to get the witness. And I've never had anyone out there that say, no, I don't want to hear about it.
Yeah.
And if they do, then I've got an answer for that too. They say, well, I don't believe in God. And I'll say, it's okay, he believes in you. And I'll hit my ball and move on. So it's a lot of fun just doing what I do every day. I just try to golf every day.
And it's just a matter of, there was such a life-changing experience for you,
yeah.
that you just want others to know and have that same joy. Isn't that it?
Well, back in 1997, I'd been playing church for 7 years. And it got to the point, because I'm either an all in or all out kind of guy. I'm not a halfway stepper. I don't stand on fences. So at one point it was like, you're either going to be about Christ and go to heaven or not. And that was my goal in September 22nd, 1997, is to go to heaven. And since then it's become my goal is to take as many people with me as I can. There
was a time when you were like a mess.
Well, yeah, my whole life.
You were in prison.
Yeah. Well, I started selling drugs when I was 8 years old. Started selling marijuana. I was living on a farm, and my brother would bring his big buddies over, and they would have marijuana, and we would smoke it. And they'd test it out on me. I was kind of like the guinea pig of the group, the young one. So one night, some guys came over and they said, well, "We wish you had some weed, man." I'm like, well, "I wish you did too," because now I'm used to getting high. So the next time a guy came over, I had $5, and I said, "I'd like to buy some of that." So they gave me a nice big batch, and I turned it into $20, and had some left over. Now I've got $20 as an 8-year-old child living on a dairy. That was money. And I realized that was my way back off the dairy, was number one, through education, and to earn money. So that's where I began. And it just continued. When I turned 12, it went into powders and that kind of stuff, because it was more. Yeah, I know. I know. It's kind of bizarre.
I'm just trying to catch up.
It's kind of bizarre. But
12, you went into powders.
Yeah, because I realized that powders were smaller and worth more money, because it was all about money
at the time. 12.
At 12. So I went into powders, and a lot of the guys that I was involved with at the time continued what they were doing, but I had a direction to go into, and that was to earn more money, because I wanted out the dairy.
So did you use it at the same time then?
Every day. So at 12, I bought my mother a new car.
Okay. Mother should have had some kind of inkling that there could be a problem, that you're buying a car at 12.
You would think so, but in the South, women don't really ask men where they get their money. It's kind of a Southern thing. Well, where I'm from anyway. So she knew that whatever I was doing couldn't be, although I worked on the dairy every day.
Right.
So you get up at 3:30 in the morning as a 7 or 8 year old kid, and you go to work.
And why would she suspect that of her baby?
Well, she didn't suspect anything.
Exactly
She knew.
what I'm saying.
She knew that there was no way I could earn that
Right.
much money
Yeah, yeah.
without doing something illegal. But her brothers and some of those guys were on moonshine, and
Okay.
that was kind of the lifestyle that they lived. And
Okay.
some of her brothers been to prison, some had not, but it was just that kind of, it was a strange way of adapting to the situation. So at 14, I moved us off the dairy, bought us a house. It's a little shotgun house, and just continued from there, just making more and more and more and more. By the time I was 16, I was a millionaire.
What was going on in your head at this time? For instance, proud of the money, thinking I'm going to get out of this, nothing at all, not worried, thinking this is okay because it's a way of life. I mean, you were conditioned. If they were giving you drugs at 8, you were conditioned to this being fine.
Well, I knew that it wasn't right because we were hiding everything. And the guys that I was buying from says you have to have a job, you have to work all the time. So I said, okay. So I always worked, and all the people that worked for me had to work because you had to show where you're getting money.
So you had
from.
people at 16 working for you.
I had people at 9 working for me.
How many?
Well, up to over 100 people.
At 9 years old?
Well, 12 years old.
12 years old.
12, yeah. When I got done, I had 27 lieutenants that managed all the people. So it was a racketeering.
When you were 18, there's probably a story with that as well.
Well, you know, I'd already been to prison, Rayford, at 16.
Hold that thought.
Yeah.
We'll be back in a minute. More with Greg Crabtree when we return. We're back with Greg Crabtree, and we will tell you how you can get involved with Businessmen's Fellowship USA later on in the broadcast. Right now, we've left Greg at 16 with hundreds of employees. Counted out your money, and there's $1 million in front of you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you're like, okay, this isn't exactly right, but I'm okay with it.
Just like any other lifestyle, it becomes normalized to you.
Takes over.
Which is what is happening in our society today. You see the normalization of things that are immoral. I didn't know what was immoral and what was immoral. And I didn't know there was a God till I met him. Because no one ever come up to me and said, do you know Jesus? No one ever did what I do today.
Wow.
And that's asking, do you know who Jesus is? Are you going to heaven or not?
Oh.
No one ever said that to me. No one had the nerve enough to say that to me. Because along with the drugs comes violence and all those other things. So
you were mean too.
I would never smiled. I was not a smiling person. No one knew me to smile.
Wow, because I know you only to smile.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what Christ has done in my life. Is He gave me a smile.
Yeah.
He gave me a purpose in my life. Before everything was empty. No matter how much money or any of those things that never happened, everything was always empty. There was no friends. I never loved anyone. It was a bizarre life.
Yeah.
But that was my life.
And it just takes
what
over.
It was. Yeah. It's just what it was. Yeah. So until I don't want to jump forward because I don't want to live in that too long.
But I got to hear prison. You said prison, so 16. You got to do that one in a gun possession. So that happened, right?
Right.
Okay.
That was up in '94.
Okay.
Back in '94.
So you got caught.
I got several times, but I was never really caught for what I did do, but I was always getting in trouble for things I didn't do because I was very careful about what I did do.
It's protected.
Right. So the folks, but finally I got really caught in '94, and that it was bizarro.
Okay.
So
moving forward.
Back in 1990, my mother passed away, which devastated my life. My mother, single mother, she raised my brother and I, and it devastated me. I'd never really loved anything or anyone except my mother.
Wow.
And my brother. So it was like, she's gone. So I was devastated. I was up here in Northern California, living in Southern California, and I was buying chemicals to manufacture meth with. That's what I was doing up here. So I got the phone call that my mother passed away. It took me a week to drive from San Francisco to Los Angeles. A full week to get there because I couldn't see. I was just crying all the time, and I'd never cried before. So that was everything was new that was going on. So it took us about 3 months to bury her in Florida, and at her gravesite, I still couldn't see, and I was trying. And the headstone hadn't come, and things were just not working out. And I wasn't used to things not working out. I was used to saying something and it getting done immediately, without question. So the headstone wasn't there, and I was carving her name in a cross that I'd made And I sit back on my heels. I'm in this little van that had everything in it. And I looked around and there's crosses, and I'm sitting in a church, and there's headstones, and there's angels, and there's all this stuff in a
You've never seen.
cemetery.
Yeah.
I didn't really know what it meant.
Yeah.
So I just sit back and I said, God, if you're real, take this pain.
Ooh.
It was gone. I felt peace. I went, wow. First time in my life I ever felt peace. So I said, okay, you win. What do I do? What do you want? He said, go to church. I went, never been to church. Don't know what that looks like. But I was happened to be staying with my Uncle Max and Aunt Doris, and we're going to see them at the end of this month. And I went, and that was on a Memorial Day, 1990. And Wednesday, I'm getting ready to go to church, because I knew they go to church on Wednesday. They talk about that stuff.
Yeah.
So my Uncle Max knocked on the door, and I said, yes, sir. And he opened the door and says, something happened to you. What are you getting ready to do? I said, I'm getting ready for church. He said, you want to ride with us? And I said, no, sir, there's something I need to do on my own. And he pulled out the address and directions on how to get to the church. This is 1990. No GPSs. Take 231 down.
Right.
And he said,
somewhere around there.
He said, something happened to you on Monday, didn't it, son? I said, yes, sir. I said, I met God. He said, yeah, I figured that. And just closed the door and just let it go. He wasn't going to, fire and brimstone me or any of that stuff. And that's my style today. Is I'm just who God made me to be, and I do that every day in my life. And that's where I'm at every day, is being who God wants me to be, and people see that. And it's they preach the gospel at all times and use words when necessary. It's just it's just be who God has you to be.
He's made you to be.
So I played church for 4 years, and got caught again. And after a couple of years of trying to be a good Christian,
trying to do the rules. Yeah.
Well, you run out of money.
Yeah.
So I came back out to Los Angeles, started manufacturing again. So it was like back and forth kind of deal. Yeah. So by 1997, 7 being the number of completion, I realized that I'm on the fence, and I got to get off the fence, either in or out of Christianity.
Yeah.
It's either going to be this lifestyle or that lifestyle. So I chose Christ. Wow. So September 21st was
to live is Christ.
Yeah. To
die is gain. Die to yourself.
Yeah. It's like,
and let him take over.
What's really important? Money's not really important. Money's not the important part. The important part is going to heaven. So that's what I really wanted to do.
And the peace.
The peace was insane.
Yeah.
It was new.
Yeah.
But I'd get in and I'd get out, and I wouldn't have peace. And I'd get back in, I'd have the peace. It was a little game that I was playing with my life. So September 21st, God's voice said to me, turn yourself in, I have work for you to do. I'm a long-time criminal. I mean, that's not my lifestyle, to turn myself in. So I stopped running September 22nd, and that's another long story, but I decided that it didn't matter where I was, in or out of prison, because there's more prisons outside of the prison walls than there are inside. Yeah. And I decided to go to heaven. I wanted to go to heaven. Yeah. That was it for me. I just wanted to go to heaven. And whatever they had that look like, it didn't make any difference. And the Texas Ranger that took me in couldn't believe what had just happened. So he turned around and looked at me and he says, you need anything, boy? I said, I could sure use a Bible. He went out and bought me a Bible, and he delivered it to my cell, and he says, you stick with this, son, you're gonna be all right. I said, yeah, I think that's a good idea. So God said that night, give a Bible study. And I said, I don't know, you get these unctions, and the thoughts and the voice. He says, give a Bible study. And I said, I don't know anything about the Bible. He says, I do. I wrote it.
Hold the thought. I hate to even go to a break now, but I have to. There are always ways you can become involved in ministry yourself. And that's what Greg is doing now with his life. So we will talk about Businessmen's Fellowship USA when we come back, and Greg's jail ministry. So stay with us. Welcome back. Well, Greg, you're obviously out of prison. Mm-hmm. Actually, you spend time in prison now, but for other reasons.
Yeah.
So tell us what happened in your life that, just completely secured your relationship with Christ and caused you to want to share him with everyone you know?
It got to the point where once I got settled with where I was going, which was prison, I figured I'd spend the rest of my life up in Jackson, Michigan, in prison for racketeering for life. I figured I was going to get life up there, and that didn't matter. So the Bible study started, and God was giving me messages and all these things that were going on. And one of the things he said to me, he says, I'm going to make you a better father, a better husband, a better man.
Oh.
So I was unmarried and estranged from my children, and I'm in prison. So none of those things really looked...
Like, how's that going to happen?
Yeah. So I just said, you got a lot of work to do. But I never once thought anything but what he said was going to be true. So the walls didn't confine me. People started wondering, why are you so happy? They started calling me Happy Man inside the walls. So I said, you don't understand, man. I know where I'm going. I'm going to heaven. Do you want to go? So it was Bible studies all the time, and it was comforting to know that I didn't have to be the shot caller or the top guy or whatever.
Yeah.
But each time I get transferred somewhere, they're going, are you with us? Yeah, I'm front line, but I'm going as a Christian. And it was interesting to be able to be honored in that way, because they honor you in a different way, because they realize he's really walking the walk.
Wow.
Because you can't fool anyone inside, and that's the reason I got so involved with the jail ministry in Marin County. Is they know who I was, and they see who I am.
So they see the drastic transition.
When they see me walk in the door, they know that I'm going to bring something of hope. And that's all I want to bring them, is hope and joy and love, and let them know that they're loved by Christ. That's the purpose of that. Now, Businessmen's Fellowship, when I got involved with that, it's men, because I'm a guy. I'm not the guy to mushy anything. I'm just straight up with it, and I'm out with it.
Yeah.
If you want to go to heaven, I can tell you how to get there. If you don't,
that's
then
fine.
you
Move
still
on.
need to go.
Yeah,
You
right.
still need to go. You don't have to want to go. You just still need to go. But I got involved, and I realized that everyone's going to have lunch. Businessmen are going to have lunch. I'm a businessman. I'm a successful businessman today in a legal way.
I was going to say, I have no doubt that you are a successful businessman.
I took all of these skills. That's the really cool thing about God, is he
uses
takes
everything. Yes.
And he turns it to good for those who love him,
Yes,
according to his purpose.
Yes.
So I figured, as long as I'm living in his purpose and called to that, then that's my calling. It's wherever I'm at. That's church. I'm church. So when I got the concept of Businessmen's Fellowship, it was like, okay, everyone's going to have lunch. Invite someone to lunch. Let them hear a testimony about what God's doing in someone's life. Let them know that there's prayer there for them afterwards, for whatever that looks like. And give them an opportunity to be able to get prayed for. I've never had anyone say, please don't pray for me. Ever. So it's like, okay, we're praying. But some of the folks will come, and I've seen a lot of people saved and give their life to Christ. I don't want to get too much into Christianese, but they give their lives to Jesus, and it changes their lives just like it did mine, because once they find out about my past, they want to know more about my future. So I don't like to spend too much time on my past. I understand it's a great place to stand on, but my favorite scripture is, seek ye first the kingdom of righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. Right. So that's my all thing, is my wife. My wife is my all things. She makes me want to be a better man.
Wonderful.
She's an incredible woman of God. She loves God more than she loves me, and I wouldn't have it any other way. She's my everything, and God has given me her to help me be that better man.
So he came through on his promises to you in prison.
Better husband, better father, better man.
Where you couldn't see it, he had a plan.
I had no clue.
Yeah.
No idea it could even be done. But I never lost faith in what he was going to do. Now, when I got out, and it was like, what? I mean, I'm out now. And the judge says, we're going to give you time served. And I'm like, that's unheard of. But that's what the men prayed for me the night before my court hearing, my sentencing. was time served. That's 59 men laid hands on me that night. Because they had all been giving their lives to Christ, because I was giving Bible studies every day, and all the deputies were saved. Everybody was serving God.
So they are the ones that turn around and pray for you.
They prayed for me on the night before, and I said, "You guys don't get it. This is racketeering. I'm gone for life. It's okay. God bless you guys. I really appreciate the prayers. Not quite gonna how it's gonna work out.
You can't fix this."
But God fixed it.
Well, Greg, you've dedicated your life. I know this. I've known you for, I don't know how many years, but I've known you for quite a while. And you've dedicated your life to serving Christ and winning people for Him, just so that they experience this thing that is hard to describe until you have experienced yourself. And we're about to go, and Businessmen's Fellowship USA, we can find more information. We're going to give the website. You're connected. Anybody's invited, right? To come and find out. Okay.
Men are invited.
Men. I can't come.
That's right.
All right. Well, that's a topic for a different show.
But we do have banquets where the ladies are to come, because it's important, because they're such a big part of us.
Well, and because you also want the men to be comfortable to share with
their
you,
lives.
and I understand that.
Right.
So I have one question for you before we go. What does Christ mean to you?
He's my everything. It's my life. I've devoted my life to Christ. And what that means is 24 hours, 7 days a week, every day. There's not a time in my day that I want to be away from His presence, because I realize that God is everywhere. You have to understand, God is everywhere. Whether you like Him there or not, He's there. And whether you like it or not, or believe it or not, He loves you, because He's love. We were discussing this last night with some friends at dinner. God is love. It's just that simple. And He gives us grace to be who we were to who we are. It's just that simple. Thanks for being with us. My pleasure. For more information about today's topic, go to bmfusa.com for national information, or bmfmarin.com to get connected to the local chapter, or, of course, ktln.tv. As Greg has shared so willingly through his own experience, there is an answer to wherever you are in life, and that answer is Christ. Give Him a chance and see what happens. Thanks for watching. KTLN is a donor-supported ministry. Programs like this one are made possible through your generous contributions. Join us again next week.